Today's video is more bibliographical, unlike the others where I give a more theoretical focus. It is about a character who composed the intricate mosaic of Greek thinkers. Syrianus, who Syrianus, also known as the Great, was a teacher of philosophy and possibly rhetoric in Athens during the late 4th and early 5th centuries AD. He was a slightly younger contemporary of Augustine of Hippo 454 of 430, born in Alexandria in the second half of the 4th century, having received his early education in his hometown. He moved to Athens to study philosophy with Plutarch of Athens c. 350 of 431, who hand-revived Plato's academy. He was the teacher of Proclus 485, who succeeded him as a scholar after his death c. 437. The circumstances of his life are almost entirely unknown. And who really was Syrianus? He played a very important role in the transmission and interpretation of the philosophy of Plato and Aristotle. His influence is notable through his student Proclus, who became one of the most important Neoplatonic philosophers. And his commentaries on Aristotelian metaphysics are extremely valuable for the understanding of Aristotelian philosophy and its relationship with Neoplatonism. Now, to better understand this introduction, let's take a look at Greek philosophical history. Neoplatonism was an influential school of philosophy that flourished in the antiquity, between the 3rd and 6th centuries AD. It represents a reinterpretation and development of Plato's ideas, seeking to integrate them with other philosophical currents, such as Aristotelianism, Pythagoreanism and Stoicism, in addition to incorporating religious and mystical elements. Neoplatonism emerged during a period of great transformation in the Roman Empire, marked by political, economic and social crises, as well as the rise of Christianity. This context of instability and the search for new forms of spirituality contributed to the development of philosophies that offered answers to existential and metaphysical questions. Despite having an abundant philosophical work, only a few important commentaries have survived. The main works that remain are commentaries on the book Beta 3, Gamma 4 and Mu and Nu 13 and 14, of Aristotle's Metaphysics. Commentaries on Hermogenes, probably on Hermogenes of Tarsus, Greek or Thracian. Syrianus played a very important and crucial role in the transmission and interpretation of the philosophy of Plato and Aristotle. His influence is notable through his student Proclus, one of the most important Neoplatonic philosophers. His commentaries on Aristotle's Metaphysics are valuable for the understanding of Aristotelian philosophy and its relationship with Neoplatonism. To understand Syrianus, it is necessary to understand the historical context of Neoplatonism. Understanding the historical roots of Neoplatonism in Plotinus and its later development helps to situate Syrianus' thought. The relationship between Syrianus, Plutarch, and Proclus explores the dynamics between Syri philosophers and transmission of knowledge in the Athenian Academy. The context of Syrianus's commentaries of Aristotle's Metaphysics. Analyze Syrianus's interpretation of key concepts of Aristotelian metaphysics, such as substance, being, unity, and multiplicity. The influence of Syrianus on other competing philosophers of thought. Trace the impact of his ideas on other Neoplatonic thinkers and on medieval philosophy. Damasius, in his philosophical history, also known as the Life of Isidore, describes Syrianus as a tall, impressive-looking man of remarkable intellectual power and learning. Syrianus was born in Alexandria in the 4th century, an important intellectual center, where he probably received an education in rhetoric and some philosophy. 4th century Alexandria was marked by conflicts between the Christian elite and proeminent pagan intellectuals in Alexandria, including the mathematician Theon c. 335 to 415 and his daughter Hypatia, who was murdered by the Christians in 415. The move to Athens and its relationship within Plutarch. Syrianus moved to the Athens to study with Plutarch and to devote himself to philosophy. He spent the rest of his life in Athens as a close associate academy. The attribution of the commentary is dedicated to his son Alexander. The Laction of the Shoal. Archaeological evidence suggests that Plutarch, Syrianus and 3 more Proclus lived and taught in a complex of house bear the theater of Dionysius on the southern slope of the Acropolis, and not, as local tradition claims, in Plato's academy outside the walls of the ancient city. His burial according to Marinus. In his manuscripts, Life of Proclus, Syrianus was buried on the slopes of Mount Lycabettus in Athens. The political and cultural context of Syrian's time, although he lived in Greece, was clearly influenced by the Roman Empire. At that time, Syrian was undergoing profound reforms and drastic changes, such as the evasion of the Gothic tribes and the rise of Christianity as RHE official religions under Theodosius 379–395, where Theodosius sought to restrict both Christian heresies that had taken hold in the nascent religion as well as pagan heresy. Damasius' physical description gives us a more vivid image of the philosopher. The context of religious conflict in Alexandria helps us understand the extent of the time and Syrian's possible philosophical interiorization in seeking refuge in philosophy in Athens. His close relationship of the academy demonstrates Syrian's importance in the Athenian Neoplatonic tradition. The political context of the rise of Christianity and the repression of the paganism are crucial to understanding the philosopher's challenges. Syrianus's work The Metaphysics is transmitted in about 18 manuscripts dating from the 15th and 16th centuries. Two of these manuscripts, Parisius and Graecus, are considered superior to the others in structure and content. The extant text does not offer a unified and comprehensive interpretation of the Metaphysics. The commentary covers only 4 of the major treatises that made on the collection of works that became manuscripts after the Physics. Syrianus's work is a collection of 3 separate essays of different character and purpose: an essay on the Aphoretic manuscript 3 beta, an essay on the manuscript 4 gamma, and an essay on the manuscript 13 and 14 mu and nu. The titles of these separate parts indicate different times and context of analysis of different topics requiring discussion in the beta manuscript of Aristotle's Metaphysics, which begins with almost no introductory remarks.
Aristotle against G. Platonic theory of forms and how Syrianus refutes them. Aristotle argues that the objects of mathematics are reached by abstraction from sensible reality. The geometer studies points, lines and planes by abstracting irrelevant characteristics of physical bodies. Aristotle concludes that mathematical entities do not exist independently of the mind that conceives them, but are merely hypostatization of aspects of sensible objects. Syrianus responds that mathematical abstraction would be impossible unless the human mind already possessed an a priori understanding of precise mathematical entities and principles. That is, the ability to abstract presupposes prior knowledge of that which is abstracted. The third man argument. This argument, presented by Plato Dialogue Parmenides and taken up by Aristotle, aims to demonstrate an infinite regress in the theory of forms. If there is a form of man beyond individual men, then there must be a third form of man that shares characteristics with individual men and with the original form, and so on. Syrianus' answer is implicity in the context. Siriano, following the Neoplatonic tradition, would probably argue that form exists on a higher ontological level, transcendent to the sensible world, and not subject to the same relations of the similarity and participation as sensible objects. Thus, the infinite regression does not apply to forms themselves nor to their imperfect copies in the sensible world. Well, folks, the video has come to do. I believe I have conveyed the message as I proposed to do. The arguments that Siriano focuses on to carry out his studies are the arguments